Lovely job. Will, is that sharing okay? Super, just got a lovely thumbs up. It's very disconcerting doing this in webinar mode where I can't see everybody. But welcome, lovely to have you here. Today's session is the first Let's Go Zero webinar for the 2025-26 academic year. This year we're trying something a little bit different, so please bear with us. What we're doing is anyone who's been on a Let's Go Zero webinar before will have met the lovely Suzanne, who is on the call and is helping us with tech support today. So you would have met the lovely Suzanne presenting. What we're trying out this year is actually getting our wonderful team of climate action advisors, of which I'm one, sort of involved in running the webinars and sharing their own sort of experiences and expertise when it comes to working with schools. So I'll introduce the sort of three of us who'll be leading on this team in just a little minute. We're also trialing more of a kind of workshop model rather than a webinar model. So just as a kind of so as not to catch you unawares, we are trialing breakout rooms. So what we'll do is we'll do sort of half an hour of presentation and sort of information giving, and then we will have 20 minutes for breakout rooms. That first half hour is going to be recorded, which is why everybody's cameras are off, just in case people don't want to be on recorded. The 20 minutes in the breakout rooms won't be recorded, so please, if you have got technology to put cameras on, please do, because it's much nicer speaking to people's faces. Yes, and then we'll sort of come back for the last 10 minutes just to sort of round up. The reason we're trialing breakout rooms is because we know that there is a wealth of kind of experience and expertise in the room, and we also know that, you know, when you're working, you know, in a school or in a MAT, it can feel a little bit isolating, and especially when you're working sometimes on sustainability, like, you know, oh gosh, am I the only one doing this? So we really hope that it would be valuable to have some time together to sort of to network, to see that there are other people doing your role, experiencing similar challenges, sharing their own sort of ideas and all of that sort of thing. So I do hope it's really helpful, and there will be a feedback form sent out at the end. So let us know how you get on with it. This is, as I said, webinar mode for this kind of half hour, but the chat function is enabled and the Q&A function is enabled as well. So there'll be an opportunity in a minute to sort of introduce yourself into the chat, which would be absolutely lovely to see. The final thing to let you know before we actually move on with the slides is that this webinar is, we've got two webinars in this sort of Help I'm a Sustainability Lead mini series, and this one is intended for MAT sustainability leads. And we've got one week on Thursday for school sustainability leads. If you are a school sustainability lead, you are very welcome, but you might find that the content won't be vastly different, but some of the content will be less relevant for you, and some of the and certainly kind of in the breakout rooms you might find that you've got more school sustainability leads to chat to next week. So if you are from a sustainability lead from a school and you'd rather, and you're free on the 25th, I think Suzanne's going to pop the link into the chat, and you're free, please do, we won't be at all offended if you drop off this call and register for the 25th if that's what would work better for you. So hopefully that all makes sense. So this is our agenda for today's session. I'm doing the welcome and the housekeeping at the moment. Then we've got this sort of 25-minute section where we're kind of covering sustainability lead essentials, and with an awareness that we've probably got people on the call with a very wide variety of sort of expertise and length of time in the job, all of that sort of thing. So if you're someone who's been sort of sustainability lead at your MAT for a number of years, probably none of this information is going to be particularly new to you, but we would really appreciate and love your insights, your expertise, you know, in the chat and in the breakout room and all of that sort of thing. And hopefully, you know, there will be some useful connections and things made as well. Then we're going into our breakout rooms, which, as I said, won't be recorded, and then we'll have a sort of roundup and next steps. Lovely Suzanne is doing all of the sort of tech and admin support for us for this series, and she will be sending out a copy of the slides, copy of the recording, and I think sort of summarising useful resources and things. So that will all be sent out to you within the next couple of days, because I know people are often keen to know if they get a copy of the slides. So as an introduction to the team who are going to be facilitating this session today, my name's Jen. I'm one of the Climate Action Advisor team in the Southwest. My colleague Will is also in the Southwest. Give us a wave, Will. And Felicity is Climate Action Advisor in the Southeast. So, and we all have a as a sort of climate action advisor team. There's 32 of us, but we all have a sort of a kind of a pillar or a topic that we sort of lead on within the team. We lead on the culture pillar, so that's why we've been I don't think voluntold is the right word. We've been asked to contribute to, we've been asked to run this webinar today. Do we know if Paul has been able to attend or not? Yeah,
yes,
Felicity's
Paul is here. Fantastic.
Hi. Amazing. Thank you, Paul. Brilliant. I don't know if you're Paul, do you want to, Paul is going to be our sort of expert guest contributor, not to put too much pressure on you today, Paul. Are you happy to just give us a brief headline intro as to who you are and what you do?
Of course I can. My name is Paul Edmund. I am the Chief Finance and Sustainability Officer at Heart Academies Trust. We're a trust in Bedford of primary, secondary and the sixth form and nursery. I've been the sustainability lead for, well, quite a few years now. Another part of my role is running the UK School Sustainability Network, or co-running it with a couple of other people, which is a national network to support schools on their sort of sustainability journey. We all work in schools, so I suppose we have that sort of perspective, which hopefully is quite helpful. And I'm also an advisor for the Cape Alliance, who think about sustainability in the curriculum. And with all that, also work with the Department for Education and try and support their sustainability journey and their strategy. There you go.
Amazing. I didn't put enough of your hats onto the slide, Paul. I'm so sorry. So grateful to you with all of those things that you're juggling for making a little bit of time to come and give us the benefit of your expertise and experience today. Thank you so much. So now it's over to you guys in the chat. I'm quite nosy and I just like knowing who's here on the call, and I think it's useful perhaps for each other to sort of know who's on the call. There might be people you know or people in MATs close to you who you'd like to hook up with and network with. So in the chat, if you are happy to, can you let us know who you are, your MAT, if you are part of a MAT, if you're joining as a school lead, that's absolutely fine. As I said, pop in your school. What your role is if you aren't sustainability lead, because I know there are some people who have an official job title and sustainability gets kind of scooped up underneath that. And if you are official sustainability lead, how long you've been doing it, just to give us a sense of how the levels of kind of, I guess, experience in the room. Esme, if I had a prize, I would send you the prize for being the first to be brave enough to pop something into the chat. Thank you so much. Really, really helpful to kick us off. So Esme's Year 3 teacher and sustainability lead. Ellen is somehow sustainability governor. I love that somehow. Sustainability lead wasn't able to make, oh, well done for stepping into the breach, Ellen. That's absolutely wonderful. Everyone's moving too quickly now. I'm loving this. Courtney from Primitas Trust, new to this. 3 weeks, Helen, well done. I really hope that this is going to sort of put people who might be feeling a bit anxious about sort of being launched into a new role at ease. Rebecca, I think we might have connected before, haven't we? So lovely to see you on the call in Suffolk. Paul, well done for putting us into the chat. That's amazing. A sustainability steering group, loving that, John. Elle, hello from Cathedral Trust. Alison, operations manager. Brilliant. We've got a really lovely mix, I think, in terms of, where people are coming from. And it feels like quite a few of you might be sort of new to this role. So hopefully there's going to be lots of fab stuff for you to gain from this. Brilliant. Thank you for that, guys. Just very briefly, an intro to Let's Go Zero for those of you who haven't sort of come across us or worked with us before. So Let's Go Zero is part of a climate solutions charity called Ashton, and with a sort of schools arm of what they do. And Let's Go Zero has two parts to it, really. One is a campaign, a national campaign for all schools and colleges to sort of sign up to say that, yes, they have an ambition for climate action and they would really love more in the way of support and, importantly, funding from the government. So the QR code that's there on the screen is for any of you that are in a senior leadership role and are sort of happy to contribute your voice to that campaign. We've got over 7,000 schools now signed up, which means that when the sort of policy side of Let's Go Zero are talking to Department for Education, having this groundswell, this big number of schools behind us really does help. All these links will be sent out afterwards in the document as well, so don't worry too much about trying to scan QR codes and things. And then the second part of Let's Go Zero is the Climate Action Advisors Project, which Will, Felicity and I are part of. There's 32 of us around England, and predominantly the bulk of our work is supporting schools, supporting MATs, local authorities, dioceses, to get climate action plans in place for all of their schools. So important to say that all the support that we offer is free. So we have to say that right off the bat. We usually have to say it at the beginning and the end of meetings to reassure schools that they're not going to get a sort of hidden sting in terms of charges. Super. I think I'm passing over to Will now.
Thanks, Jen. Hi, everybody. I hope you're all well. Yes, so as Jen said, we in the agenda, we're going to just give you a summary really of sustainability, being a sustainability lead, particularly across a MAT, and really look at like the essential bits that you maybe need to be thinking about. And I'm going to talk firstly about why it's still a relatively new-ish role, sustainability lead across the education sector. And as I'm sure lots of you are by now aware, the Department for Education's Sustainability and Climate Change Strategy was originally released in 2022, April 2022. And in it says that all schools should have a nominated sustainability lead, as well as a climate action plan in place by 2025. So whilst that is not a statutory requirement as of today, we don't know whether it's going to become a statutory requirement, but settings are still very much wanting to take climate action for a number of reasons. And obviously the reason that you are on this webinar is because you want to do exactly the same thing. So it's very much there in black and white in the DfE's strategy. So why is the role of sustainability leader so vital across a multi-academy trust? Well, firstly, the role really would help the MAT as a whole meet the requirements of the DfE strategy, as I said, but it also would help whoever else in the MAT team, central team's job it is to report emissions. It's required by the SECR. Don't worry if you've not heard of that. That is the Streamlined Energy and Carbon Reporting that some MATs, it's dependent on the size, so the much larger MATs have to report their emissions. I think it's on an annual basis, and there are also other statutory responsibilities which I'm sure you are very much aware of and related to health and safety, the school estate, like see there's school estates management standards, and of course safeguarding, which sustainability would be able to contribute towards. And whilst these benefits of the role are hugely important, we are particularly excited about the co-benefits that the role of sustainability lead can bring to a MAT. So firstly, achieving efficiencies. The Sustainability Lead can identify ways to improve energy, water, waste efficiency across their group of schools, which can lead to cost savings. It's one of the first things that schools ask us is, how can we save money? Is this going to cost us money? We know how tight budgets are across the piece. So if we can show within our MATs, within our schools that by taking climate action, it's the right thing to do, we can also save money. It's very much a win-win. Being a sustainability leader gives you the opportunity to drive culture change. So it provides the authority, the ethical leadership needed to embed sustainability at both trust and individual school level. We know there are clear links between taking action, for example, less pollution outside a school gate because of, having a school street maybe outside your school. So yeah, taking action like things like that and improved mental and physical well-being outcomes. Excuse my dog barking, lovely timing. And then increase the knowledge and confidence of staff, learners and leaders in climate change and sustainability. So we talk, one of the pillars of the DfE strategy is around climate education. So it's about preparing our young people for industries and jobs for the future. Really, really exciting. And lastly, about building resilience. So developing strategies to adapt to the impacts of climate change and ensuring the long-term stability of the educational estate. We thought we'd show you these two quotes. We were going to choose one, but they're both very powerful, so we couldn't decide, so we just thought we'd show you both. So as Barack Obama says, we're the first generation to really feel the impact of climate change and the last generation that can do something about it. And so wonderful Sir David Attenborough, what happens now and in these next few years will profoundly affect the next few thousand years. So no pressure. The time for action is now, and we're in a very privileged position within education to have a significant impact. And what starts with young people will very much ripple out into the wider community. So now I'm going to talk a little bit more about the key responsibilities that might come with being a sustainability lead. So this will not necessarily pertain to your, context is really important, but this is the sort of things that you may have to be responsible for. So strategic planning. So developing and reviewing a comprehensive sustainability strategy with a commitment to reduce carbon emissions and other environmental targets. CPD, knowledge sharing across the mat, facilitate, and that's including yourself, of course, if you feel the need to do that. Facilitating knowledge sharing, innovation across the academies within the trust to disseminate best practice. Having oversight, monitoring and reviewing trust progress towards sustainability goals across all the academies. So this may, for example, include thinking about the environmental impacts of any new buildings you may have or capital refurbishments, making sure that sustainable choices are made and initiatives relating to large-scale procurement that can only be achieved at trust level. It's a really, really good position, that you're in there at trust level. And lastly, coordinating with local authorities, so community engagement. So coordinate with local authorities, environmental groups, and community members to support and enhance local sustainability projects. So hopefully you're not sort of sat there thinking, well, why am I a sustainability lead? Because the answer to the question, who can be a sustainability lead, is anyone. It could be the CFO, Chief Financial Officer, it could be operations manager, if that's what they're called in your trust, the health and safety lead, estates lead, curriculum lead. Obviously, context is key. It depends how big or small your mat is. Or if you're not one of those managerial leadership positions in the central team, it's anyone else who has the passion to drive sustainability forwards. But what is key, we're not mentioning this yet, is the whole team approach to it. It can't be, you cannot do it on your own. It's very much making sure that there's a team effort, and somebody, if you're not on senior leadership, somebody in the senior mat leadership is able to invest some time and capacity into your supporting your role as well. Over to Paul. So Jen, did you want to take over at this point?
Yeah, sorry, we've just thrown Paul in at the deep end. We didn't really give him any prep as to what we were expecting. Paul, it would be lovely to hear from you, just a couple of minutes on your story, how you sort of evolved into the role, or whether it was already a role that you filled, all of those sorts of things, and I guess your thoughts on who is ideally suited to be sustainability leads within MATS.
Yeah, can do. Just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. So I suppose I started as a sustainability lead through a personal passion, because this is something I've always been interested in, going back all the way to doing sort of a degree in biology and all the way through working for charities that I suppose work in countries that really feel the hard edge of climate change. We brought it into our schools and trusts though when we were looking at the vision and values of our school, our trust, and what it meant to be, what it was that being part of our trust meant, and our influence and our engagement with our local community. My role, I suppose, as a sustainability lead, I suppose there's different strands to it, but I suppose the main two parts have already been mentioned by Jen, is around culture. And it's really thinking about how do we influence the culture of the schools and the trusts to take on sustainability, recognizing that I'm not an expert in everything and can't possibly be an expert in everything. So it's about trying to work with all the different people and all the different teams and all the different types of expertise within the trust to try and influence what they're doing and spread that culture around. I suppose I own our climate action plan and our sustainability strategy. They sit with me, but really they're informed by the team that I've built around me. And that team is made up of teachers, of classroom assistants, of estates leads, of IT leads, of finance leads, of procurement leads. So it's everybody in all those different departments and more feeding into that climate action plan, and then working with them to work out what contribution they can make in their role that will help move us forward. I then have an oversight of how do we measure our progress. So where are we now? Where do we want to be in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? What does that look like? And then I suppose the other strand of it is trying to bring in the expertise that we don't already have within the schools and trusts, so identifying the gaps. And a really good example of that would be around how do you develop a curriculum for climate education. Now that's well outside my area of expertise, but I think it's outside quite a lot of people's expertise because the research is only really coming out in it. So it's about finding those people out there with the expertise, with the knowledge to be able to bring them in and support our teachers and support our sustainability leads within the schools to develop a curriculum that is relates to our context, relates to our children, and will have the impact we want it to have. So my role is looking outwards to find what's next, what can we do, how can we improve, and I suppose looking inwards to see what are we doing well, and let's celebrate that, and what are some of the gaps that we're not doing particularly well, and how do we move those forward? How do I overcome some of the barriers? How's that for a very quick overview of what we do?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Paul. And a couple of people sort of asking in the chat saying there, and I appreciate it's difficult sometimes in the wording, but if you're sort of a school sustainability lead that are part of a MAT, you are and you're finding all this a bit like too much overload in terms of, you know, because they are quite different roles, school sustainability lead and sustainability lead sort of in a central role in the MAT. So even if you can't make next Thursday, if you register anyway, you'll get sent the replay. As I said, there'll just be some slightly different information, but you'll get sent the replay and the slides for the schools one if you're finding this a little bit overwhelming. So hopefully that makes it a little bit clearer for everybody. So just with a sort of an eye to the time, so that we make sure people have room in the breakout rooms. This is another slightly sort of scary moment, but I think I've put a Teams poll together correctly. But what I would love you to do, if I can manage to launch it, is it's a word cloud. So if you share, see what that does. Has that done it? I don't know if it's done it. Is it launched? Has it launched the poll? No. I think I've completely messed that up. Let me just stop sharing that. Suzanne, help. I don't know if you can make the launch.
I'm just having a look at
launch. Let me go. See if that's worked. Has that worked for everybody?
Yes.
The slides do seem to have disappeared, don't they? Because it's a word cloud, it works best if you can put in sort of 1, maximum 3 word sort of sentences. So what are the major challenges that either you're sort of already facing if you've been in the role for a little bit of time, or that you anticipate you might face? And if it works, you should be able to type in there, hit return, and we'll get this lovely, oh my God, it's working. We'll get this lovely word cloud start to form. So already, and the bigger the word, the more people have put that put that one in. So we're getting time coming up and time pressures. So we're going to squeeze them together. Knowledge, finances, budget. Yeah, we can squash those together, can't we? Engagement. So I feel like we've got 3 key themes at the moment around time, knowledge, and getting other people on board. Coordinating it. Yeah, if you're the sustainability leader, at a large MAT, trying to sort of get everybody sort of working together and those sorts of things can be a little bit challenging. Permission, that's an interesting one. And I guess that can work in lots of different ways. That kind of almost needing that permission from SLT. We definitely need, even if they're not sort of massively putting this high up their own agenda, they need to be giving their sustainability leads kind of permission, but also I guess that it feeds into that interaction piece from the schools, doesn't it? Experts, I wonder if that sort of leads into a little bit into the sort of knowledge and thinking, or feeling that pressure to sort of be an expert, or maybe knowing where to hook up with the experts and all of those sorts of things. So what we're going to do is we're going to, with the breakout rooms, keep those challenges in mind, and hopefully we'll have time to sort of really dig into those and sort of share ideas and share frustrations as well. Sometimes that can just be quite cathartic. Share ideas for sort of how we overcome some of these key themes. And in terms of, I guess, the support and things that is out there and available and can help to sort of overcome some of these. Let me just see if I can click away from that, and I'll see if I can find my slides again. It's all fun and games. It's probably not going to let me do that. See if this works. Oh, looks like it is working. Resume. Oh my God, that was impressive. Is that done what I wanted it to do? Fabulous. So yes, in terms of kind of support that is out there and available, obviously massive plug for Let's Go Zero. So there's lots of different ways that we can work with Matt to try and get climate action plans, you know, to help you develop your trust strategy, to get, if you'd like a trust level kind of climate action plan, we can help you with that, and we can help you hopefully in a relatively painless way to get climate action plans in place for all of your schools. We also do, for those of you who were feeling, you know, who might not be feeling as confident as you might like to around the knowledge, we have a carbon literacy course that we are offering. I think there's a course running in October and a course running in November. We'll send all these links out to you. And that is 8 hours worth of training. Don't let that put you off. We do it in 4 2-hour sessions to be hopefully as not as daunting as it sounds, to get you up to speed with the climate science, and with the sort of unique role that schools play, and sort of what needs to be done. We've got like a whole host of wonderful webinars that Suzanne has hosted over the years, which are well worth kind of catching up on. If you register for Climate Action Advisor support or for the campaign, I think you automatically get signed up to our newsletter, which comes out with lots of resources and things. So the QR code there is for Climate Action Advisor support. Again, don't worry too much about frantically trying to get your phone to register QR codes, because I think Suzanne's very efficiently put stuff into the chat, but also these will all be sent out to you. And then in terms of kind of wider support, this is just a tiny little snapshot of the wider support that is available. There is an awful lot. The Department for Education have funded several projects, one of which is Sustainability Support for Education Hub, which has got lots of resources on there for supporting schools and MATs to create climate action plans. They also have funded the Climate Ambassador Project. And my understanding with that is, you could, if you wanted to, register for a climate ambassador to support you, but also if you are looking to sort of increase your confidence and access sort of resources and training, you can volunteer to be a climate ambassador, and you could be the climate ambassador for your MAT. So you could sort of access all of that training and be a climate ambassador within your MAT, and that will allow you to access resources and support to then support your schools to develop climate action plans. A couple of other things in there. Really want to highlight, Paul, the UK SSN Ops group. It honestly is just a phenomenal resource. It's got a wonderful forum, which is for an off social media platform. I think it is very, very active in terms of people posting in there and all of those sorts of things. And you also have a wonderful series of webinars that you run with you know, brilliant experts and things coming in on them. So Paul, just final little bit from you, if that's okay on this bit, is just to ask you if you've got any kind of recommendations for support, resources, or any top tips for people who are going, I've been in this role 3 weeks, like, what do I do?
My top tips would be that it's overwhelming, and there's an awful lot of advice out there. There's almost too much, but there are really good bits of advice and good people giving good advice. Let's Go Zero, absolutely, and you don't need to pay for it. There's people charging all sorts of different things, and actually the expertise that's already within the sector, already being provided by Let's Go Zero or the Sustainability Hub. I think finding 1 or 2 that will work really well for you and your trust, work with them for a while, and then you might slowly add 1 or 2 more over time. But yeah, I'd start slow, and I'd start with 1 or 2 trusted people like Let's Go Zero to help you get started, get you that first climate action plan, or develop the climate action plan you've already got. And don't forget that this isn't something that's going to be solved or you need to do in the next 6 months or 12 months. This is a really long-term cultural change and a long-term challenge for all schools and trusts. So, you know, we've been working for, just as a small example, on sustainable procurements. Now that's taken us sort of the last 2 or 3 years to get to where we are now. And actually, it's probably going to take another 2 or 3 years to get to where we want to be in terms of how we buy our stuff and who we buy it from, and the whole procurement process around it. That's just one part of a much larger climate action plan, and that's going to take us a long time to get to. So yeah, don't get overwhelmed. Don't feel like you have to do everything today. and certainly don't start paying for things up front that you probably don't need, because somebody else will be able to help you.
That's amazing. Thank you, Paul. And I promise everyone we didn't pay him to say to big up Let's Go Zero and the support that we can offer.
One more, Jen, and that is actually, you've already mentioned it, it's the carbon literacy. We always go back, and I do this all the time, go back to why are you doing it? And actually, if people don't understand the why are you doing it, it won't really embed itself in the culture change. And you only really get that when you've got the knowledge. And something like carbon literacy training for you and your team, and there's other maybe smaller bits of training you can do that aren't the full 8 hours, but I'd certainly focus on how do we get the knowledge out there, so it's not, so people aren't doing this just based on what they've read on the BBC, or they've only got a really little snippet. Actually, you need that depth of training, because that really does help you sort of propel forward.
Yeah, and I think, I'm very biased because I'm a big sort of advocate of carbon literacy, but we have had schools who've attended the training and kind of, it's almost like the pennies dropped. Like up until that point, it's felt like yet another thing the DfE are, kind of putting on schools and asking them to do, and then suddenly they've gone, oh, okay, I absolutely get it. So there are lots of providers out there doing training for schools. If you've got anyone in your school who has already done carbon literacy training, the Carbon Literacy Project now have a toolkit for schools, so you can access that for free for the cost of the certificates, basically, and then you can roll that out within your trust or within your school. So that can be another way of kind of doing that if you've got someone who has got that sort of confidence and that certification to do that. Amazing, thank you, Paul. I'll try and answer that question at some point about the carbon literacy training and the certificates and those sorts of things. I'm not aware of any other free. There is on one of the slides there was a free DfE course, online course, that it's not carbon literacy, but it may well give you, I haven't done it, so I don't know sort of how much detail and things it goes into, but there will be other free training resources that can be accessed that sort of aren't carbon literacy. So we should hopefully be able to find you something that will help to sort of up your knowledge a little bit. We're just going to go to breakout rooms now. I think we were sort of hoping for 20 minutes, but inevitably, probably primarily to me talking too much, we're probably only going to have time for 15. So I think Suzanne is setting us up into 3 breakout rooms. So with Felicity, Will, myself in one of them. One of the lucky breakout rooms will also have Paul in them as a somebody to sort of, if you're happy to stay, Paul, is that okay, or do you need to get off? It'd be wonderful if you were able to stay. So I think Suzanne is just, you poised, Suzanne, with the breakout rooms. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Will. Thank you, Felicity. So we've got 4 minutes left. So we've had a little bit of breakout room feedback. That QR code there, and we can pop the link into the chat again for anyone who does want to register for CAA support. I mean, we have somebody in our room who said, I think, to that overwhelm piece, and I just want somebody to tell me, like, this is what you need to do, and that's kind of exactly what we're sort of here to do and support you to do that. As I said, Suzanne will send out the slides, the recording, and we'll try and pull together the sort of resources and things that have come out from that. I've said if there are, so there was a question around the carbon literacy training. I've just had a little click around onto the dates, and it does look like we are still accepting registrations for both the October and the November dates. So it might just be that there was a little bit of a glitch. I think we are still accepting that. Does anybody have any questions that weren't answered kind of in the breakout rooms? And I know it's hard to have a sort of specific, and we don't have an answer to how do we create more time capacity, all of those sorts of things, but we can help you to sort of, we can be a bit of that capacity and that do the sort of some of that legwork with the research and those sorts of things for you. Anyone got any final questions that they want to pop into the chat? Just give a little minute. I don't think there's anything in the, we did have the Q&A enabled. Suzanne, is there anything in the Q&A? I can't see it for some reason.
I don't think there is. I've just had a look.
Okay. Super, thanks.
Paul's just shared a really good point, though, in the chat about a word of caution about making sure that somebody in authority has sight of and sign off on sort of sign-ups that the schools do, because, I mean, he mentions sort of buildings that are leased, for example, and therefore may have extra things in place about solar panels. and yeah, and I think that's a very good point, worth mentioning, sort of particularly where you've got enthusiastic schools or school leaders who are champing at the bit to sort of do all of the things. If you've got schools in your MAT that are maybe in leased buildings, or for example in conservation areas or listed buildings, there are some extra things to bear in mind for those.
Yeah, don't try and limit the kind of people going off willy-nilly and excitedly signing up to lots of projects. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Huge thanks to Paul for giving up his time and his expertise, and sharing sort of some of what he does in his role. But as a final closer, if you're happy to, can you just put sort of a tiny little 3-word feedback into the chat for how you're feeling or your thoughts on the session. We will be following up with a proper feedback, Paul, but if you can put a little kind of 3-word closer into the chat, that's always nice to get that little bit of kind of immediate feedback. Yes, if you register for CAA support, one of us will be in touch, and we can looking forward to sort of helping support. Oh, I'm loving Ready to Go. Fabulous. Ready to Go. Thank you. Perfect. This is really lovely. Thank you, guys. We'll let you go. We know it's the end of a long day, so we'll let you go, and look forward to being in touch with some of you hopefully at some point. So take care, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening.